Welcome everybody to the Academic Pathways in Arts and Media presentation. So this is the advisor question and answer session. So we're gonna kind of get started now.
Okay, folks, we are, super excited to have you all today. So we're going to start out, of course, we'll do some introductions, and then really we're hoping to have some great and rich conversations about finding your path at UW-Bothell. And so we're hoping to really situate that around thinking about, what are things that are exciting for you, skill sets that you have, and how we can really celebrate those and find a career pathway and an academic pathway that feels like a good fit for that. So we'll talk a little bit about career pathways in arts and media, academic majors in arts and media. We have some really great advisors here and folks from career counseling too to kind of walk us through this. So we'll have some great opportunity for Q&A and then of course a raffle drawing at the end. So be sure to stick around for that.
We'll start out with some introductions of who the team is that is here today. So hello everyone, I'm Wissam Berry, use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm the academic advisor for cultural literature and the arts in the School of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences. I can pass it off to Annie.
Sure. Hello again. So my name's Annie. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the academic advisor for the Interactive Media Design major, which is housed both out of the School of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences and the School of STEM. And as we go through today, you all might hear from Josephine as well. We have Josephine with us today, who is a current IMD student, so that's very exciting. Josephine, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Josephine Hartono, and I am a IMD junior.
Thanks, Josephine.
All right, well, I can introduce myself next. My name is Monique Taylor. I am also an advisor in the School of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences. I advise for the Media and Communication Studies and Interdisciplinary Arts majors.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Norm Wright. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I am a pre-major advisor. And so I work with students who are in pre-major status who are interested in the arts and media meta major. And I'll hand it off to Dakota next.
Hey everyone, I'm Dakota. I use she, her pronouns. I work as a career coach in career services. So I work with all students around career exploration, job and internship search strategies, and application materials.
Awesome. So the goal of today's session is to really get you all students to start thinking about really what your interests are, what are your goals, what are your strengths, motivation, passion is. And so we call this a meta major, which is essentially this grouping of a bunch of majors that are all tied to a specific area of study of some sort. And so for us, that's arts and media. And so when we talk about finding your path in arts and media, we really want you to think about what you're interested in, what is the future career that you're interested in, what are some of the passions, what classes are motivating you, and really start to get you to think about how arts and media could be the path for you in the future. So we're going to be introducing all of the majors that fall under it. We're going to be talking about some career prospects and services that are available to you as a UW-Bothell student in terms of being a part of this organization within the school, as well as helping you kind of figure out what's next in terms of my status as a pre-major student as I go into figuring out what major is going to help me get to that career, get to that goal I have post-graduation here at the University of Bothell. And so these are the questions that we really want you to start thinking about during this presentation. Gear your questions towards it. We'll have some time at the end for you to ask any questions you might have of any of the advisors that are in this space, as well as for you to just kind of think about what's next in terms of planning on how you're going to continue and find that goal that gets you to what you want to be at the university.
Great, and so this slide is going to show us a little bit about the arts and media meta major. And so certainly you can read that for yourselves in terms of creativity, imagination, innovation, developing, expressing meaning across various audiences. And so one thing that I'd like to say is that, in terms of this area, it goes to lots of different career fields. And so this is very broad in terms of opportunities. And so one thing I like to talk to students about is, there's ways to really dig deep in terms of things that you are excited about, your creativity. It's communication, right? In terms of what are your thoughts, what are the information and messages you want to convey to others, and how do you do it? The media, right? Is it going to be more of a newspaper? Is it going to be a magazine? Is it going to be some other piece of art? Maybe it's a technology type conveyance of that communication. And so lots of opportunities here, and lots of different pathways within the majors that we offer. And so certainly, what we're going to do here at the University of Washington Bothell is provide you opportunities to really increase your skills, because you all have skills coming in the door, and it's going to be a matter of enhancing those, refining the things that you hope to be doing in the future. And we want to be a part of that.
So as we're probably going to repeat multiple times today, your major does not dictate what options you can go into. Your degree really is providing a lot of different skills and experiences that are going to prepare you for different fields and different avenues. And it's very likely that you're going to switch to different types of fields throughout your career. But we do want to give students some sort of direction into what are those typical areas that a lot of people will go into. And we even will share a resource called What Can I Do with This Major?, which I think helps a lot of students who are kind of just saying like, I'm really interested in this aspect, but I'm not sure what to do with it or what my next steps should be. So that's where we come in place, where we can help you explore your different career paths, different opportunities, what steps to be doing while you're a student. And then this list is not extensive, right? Like journalism, public relations, working in technical writing, any form of education, game design, graphic design, and marketing. Those are really exciting roles that a lot of students will go into, as well as HR, UX design, working with museums and cultural centers, and also media broadcasting. But they're not the only ones. This is such a short list of every opportunity that's available. But we want to, do give you some kind of insight into what kind of pathways you can consider.
So these are the majors specifically here at University of Washington Bothell that will fit into this meta major. And so certainly we have, and then certainly then the slides later on will have each of the individual major advisors talk about these different programs. And so there are 4 that fit in this category. So interactive media design, we have our media and communication studies, interdisciplinary arts, as well as our culture, literature, and the arts. And so certainly at most places you're going to go to, you'll hear a lot of the acronyms. So IMD, MCS, interdisciplinary arts, IA, as well as CLA. So we'll probably toggle between the different acronyms and perhaps naming the different majors. And so please bear with us when we do that. Now, as we move forward in those different slides, certainly there's things we want you to be thinking about, right? Because we bring our history with us. We bring who we are into the University of Washington Bothell. And so think about things that you've enjoyed in the past, right? In terms of your classes. Also think about the future, right? Because your education is something that we want you to take ownership for. This is not something where it's just a checklist. There are requirements that have to be done, and that's sort of a checklist, but it's more than just the checklist, right? It's a matter of what is it that you hope to achieve and move towards. And if you don't know exactly what that is right now, that's okay. That's part of the journey. And that's where it gets really exciting, is that you can think about those things and sort of let it happen naturally. We certainly want students to have a sort of a direction to be going into, so you're not just wandering, as you do it, and that could be fun in itself. Yet most people probably want to have a little bit more direction than that. Certainly be realistic about the time that's needed to develop these skills. So certainly you have skills, like I said before, coming into the university. How is it that you're going to enhance those different skills and also pursue experiences, right? It might be a matter of what is the path that's going to be better for you? There's no one right pathway. There's lots of different pathways. And then also certainly make plans to connect with members of the success team here that are in this room, so we can help do that. And I'm certainly going to be one of those main individuals that you'll connect with early on as a pre-major advisor. And so as a pre-major advisor, this is my role within the university. And so certainly I work with students who are not yet in a major to make sense of academic strategies, how this place functions as an institution to help you make progress towards your goals. And so certainly, as you may recall from summer orientation, if you participate in summer orientation, a lot of our work is registration, even though we do more than just registration. We help with academic planning, some academic difficulties or struggles in terms of adjustment. So we're going to help students with those different things, as well as referrals to different campus partners who will help support you as a student to reach your educational goals. Okay, and so certainly you can see in terms of our roles for pre-major on the right-hand side, your university support person, your guide to academic success. I'm going to help you know what you need to know in terms of prerequisites for different programs, as well as helping you sort of discern, hey, how is it that you've come to this place? How do we keep moving forward? Because sometimes plans change, and we want to make sure that you're comfortable with that, and it's okay to make changes. But certainly the tips down below at the very bottom, certainly be curious, right? Be open to different things, opportunities, be flexible, and certainly be willing to have those conversations with us, because we do want to have those conversations. We want to know where you're coming from, where you hope to go, and help get you there, wherever that may be.
Alrighty, so we are going to talk a little bit about each major, as was mentioned earlier, that fall within this meta major pathway. And so we're going to start off here with interactive media design. And so some things to really share about this major and highlight. Interactive media design is a program where students are going to be exposed and have opportunity to work with a really rich amount of knowledge coming from a lot of different areas, all to help you conceive and create technology mediated experiences, right? So whether that's video, immersive art, web-based programs, specific apps, this program is really designed to help students really hone their skill sets in coming up with creative solutions to complex problems. IMD students talk a lot about that critical thinking, and something that's something that is really enjoyed in this space. And so as you can see here, we've kind of highlighted some different things that you might think about. These things might resonate with you, right? Classes that you might enjoy might include things about human-centered design, user research. So really understanding the experience of, how I'm using some kind of technology-based mediation. So, you can read them, of course, but we've got some, a lot of really different enjoyable classes that IMD students enjoy. And a unique thing about IMD is that this major actually works as a cohort model. And so this major, you would start out in autumn with a group of students that you would stay with throughout the program. And so you'd have your core IMD courses, and then there's also a lot of opportunity in this major to fill the rest of your schedule with courses that are really going to help you hone in on something that's extra exciting for you, that's going to help you complement and highlight the things that you're excited about. And we have, like I mentioned earlier, Josephine here with us, who's a current IMD major. So I'd love to bring Josephine in here just for a second. Josephine, if you could maybe share, something that you've enjoyed about IMD so far this quarter or last quarter, one thing that's just been exciting for you with it.
Oh yeah, sure. Again, yeah, I'm Josephine Hartono, and I'm an IMD junior and one of the class reps for the junior cohort. Something that I've really enjoyed about IMD is how is really based around the cohort model, and how we're able to create different projects in several sprints in different groups. It gave me the opportunity to meet a lot of members of my class and to work more personally with them. So I was able to learn about their specific specializations and their skill sets, along with their thought processes. So I was able to pick up a lot of the nuances to people's experiences while being in a casual but also productive environment.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're so lucky to have Josephine here with us. And just like Josephine said, yeah, there's a big emphasis on studio practice and interactive media design. So if you're going to enjoy digging in and having some really great hands-on experiences, this could be a fun space for you. And yeah, great.
All right, and so now I'm going to speak a little bit about the Media and Communication Studies major. You may have also heard of majors such as Communications or Media Studies, and this program will be most similar to one of those. One thing I love about the Media and Communication Studies major is just how broad it is and how many different industries and roles it really connects to, right? This is a the Media and Communication Studies major, or MCS for short, is a really good fit for students who have interests from anywhere from advertising, public relations, journalism, broadcasting, media production. Maybe you want to work in film or TV, areas like that. It's a really strong fit for all of those. And it's a great major as well because it helps students really learn both theory and being able to learn how to analyze and like be really critical thinkers around media and how we use media to communicate and impact our society, as well as really honing in on our communication skills and being strong communicators, which is a very important and useful skill for pretty much any career field. I really recommend for students who are looking into this major to really think about the breadth of things you might want to do and really look into finding experiences that you could look for that will help kind of enrich your experience and add more either focus or breadth to your resume when you are looking for career opportunities after you graduate. Looking things like internships and social media, production, marketing is a really popular field. Maybe doing some community-based learning courses in journalism, or even being a part of our radio station called UWave, which is popularly known as a radio station. They actually do a lot of different types of multimedia projects, from podcasting, social media, things like that. And those are great ways to kind of add on to your learning as an MCS major, as well as just get some hands-on experience that can help you with skill building later on in life. And this major is not cohort based, so it is a good fit for students who are looking for a lot of flexibility in their scheduling in their classes as well. But this is also the largest major in the School of IAS. So even without a cohort, you definitely wouldn't be alone with the MCS major. There's a lot of different students studying a lot of different fields within this field of study. And then going into interdisciplinary arts, this is the art major at UW Bothell. And a great thing about interdisciplinary arts major, or IA for short, is that this major is really a good fit for students who want to learn and get grounding in multiple different forms of art, be it visual arts, performing arts, literary arts. There is a wide range of artistic opportunities and ways to express yourself in this major. And it's really good fit for students who are trying to learn how to use art to then empower their communities, either as an advocate, if you want to learn how to kind of use art to make a difference and communicate for a cause, or even going into more administrative roles in cultural centers or museums, art centers, doing work as a project manager, for instance. And it could even be a good fit for students who may want to go into teaching, any level of teaching, graphic design even, or even work as an independent artist. And it'd be awesome because then you would have those career fields with a broad base of experiences and knowledge to kind of enrich your professional practice. I always recommend for students who are kind of trying to, again, gain more experiences in these in this field, to look into, again, some like on-campus opportunities, like for instance, working with Clamor, our literary and arts journal. It's a great place for writers, visual artists, photographers, all types of different students with an interest in arts can find a place in Clamor either as an artist or as an editor or a contributor. You might even look into student teaching or interning in museums or art sales. Again, a wide range of things you can do with this major as well. And we have a broad range of classes that fit whatever your interest might be.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about the cultural literature and the arts major. So this is sometimes called English or literature studies. If you're doing some searching or Googling or on the what can I do with this major degree website, that's definitely going to be listed as what it will be mostly. Cultural literature and the arts is definitely an interdisciplinary major that combines a lot of different aspects of a liberal arts education that students are usually interested in when they end up joining this major in their time. Some of the classes you might enjoy, these are some of the favorite ones that I've seen students really enjoying, and classes that I think the topics are excellent to think about: Shakespeare in film, women in American literature, representation, colonialism in the tropical world, and journalism and media history. These are also classes that could count towards students who are interested in gaining an education endorsement for English language arts. So if you're interested in teaching secondary, so middle school or high school teaching here in the state of Washington, if you're interested in that, some of those classes could even count for that. A lot of folks that end up in the CLA major are interested in it for the fact that a lot of classes count towards that education requirement if you're interested in becoming an English language arts teacher in the future. Publishing, copywriting, editing are also pretty big roles that students end up doing. An English language degree really is going to be a good breadth for you to understand what the language, literature, writing, all are kind of fitting into the work that you can do post-graduation. Human resources, really taking that liberal arts focus and understanding how people work, the culture, the literature, the arts, all combining to kind of really understand who are people, doing some leadership development, doing some human resource administrative work is something that some folks end up with. Public relations, marketing, advertising, public service, nonprofits, community organizing, kind of all jumble into the I want to work with humans in some type of a way, interact with them in some type of a way. That's really going to be the focus. A lot of people end up going post-graduation, doing some student teaching, doing some Teach for America or AmeriCorps type programs. If some type of nonprofit work is of interest of you, a lot of internships is available in that sense as well. And then similar to all the other degrees that fall into arts and media, broadcast journalism, social media are becoming a bigger piece of what this arts and media meta major is kind of going towards. A lot of people end up having the opportunity to work in some type of a technological fashion, using language as the big driver for a lot of that work. The CLA major is really thinking of a diverse major that is necessary for understanding us as people, understanding how we interact with others, really the focus of literature and art in terms of human interaction is some way to think about it as well. There's some complementary minors that are available as well that are pretty popular. The diversity minor, a lot of folks end up taking that minor as kind of combining it with their cultural literature and the arts major to have interest in some of that community organizing, nonprofit work. We also have a creative writing minor and a visual and media arts minor if you want to focus a little bit more on specific areas of arts and media as an option to kind of take your whole degree and take you further in that sense. Some of the experiences you might enjoy, the Clamor, Monique talked about, the Literary Arts Journal. A lot of folks do end up writing for that if they're a member of this major. There are some CBLR courses that you can take. Specifically, there's a journalism course that counts for this major where you actually get to work with some local journals in the Buffalo area, in the north kind of King County area, where you can interact and write actual journal articles for some newspapers, for some magazines, for some websites, and really get some credit in terms of your own portfolio to develop, doing some research with some cultural centers and communities. And then the Husky Herald, which is an independent student-run publication, as an opportunity for you to kind of get out into the world and really learn how to be somebody who uses their cultural literature and arts major for the benefit of what they actually want to do. So this is generally a major that is pretty broad in what you actually want to study. It's not necessarily any one pathway in it. You don't have to take a certain amount of each of the classes in the area. It's really just what's interesting of you is really up to you. So it's a more general, you pick your own path in terms of what it means to be a cultural literature and arts student. And that's where I, as an academic advisor, would come in, is really helping you kind of figure out what you want to do and what classes might help you end up kind of getting to that goal you want in the end. So that's a little bit about our CLA major at the University of Washington, Buffalo.
We also wanted to mention some resources that you all have available through Career Services. Our purpose in Career Services is to empower students and alumni to be able to explore different majors and career pathways, to build application materials and job skills for the workforce, and also to connect you to employers and the graduate community. So you have access to all of our services for free as a student, even 3 years after you graduate. We host appointments with students for career exploration, figuring out what do you want to do. Maybe you get into a major and then you decide, okay, I'm not sure what minor I want to attach to this, or I'm now taking, you know, I'm a year in or a couple years into this major and I'm not sure if this is really the right path for me. What are some other majors I could potentially switch to? Or what are those career paths that I can pursue with the specific major that I'm exploring? We also work with students on application materials like resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles. We also do mock interviews. And this can also be for, you know, personal statements and applying to grad school, or working on your resume with you, or any type of materials that you need to apply to your major. We also work with students on job and internship search strategies. So finding those opportunities like undergraduate research, service learning, internships, any type of experiential hands-on experience, we highly recommend. And we'll work with you to find out what are those different areas or types of experience that you want to gain while you're a student. What should you be pursuing after you graduate? What's going to make you a really great applicant? And we have a ton of resources online. So these links on this slide are clickable. You'll be able to go to our majors and career exploration page, as well as our virtual resources, which include tons of videos. And these aren't just like webinars or, you know, 15-minute, an hour-long recorded sessions. Some of them are just quick 5-minute clips. So you can use, you know, as kind of a do-it-yourself pace. We also have that page of different resources, and a few that I want to name are Candid Career, which is a website where you can watch different videos by employers who talk about what they do, how they got into their field, what they enjoy, or, you know, what are those challenges in their experience as well. So it's very similar to being able to talk to somebody in the field and ask them questions about their experience, which we highly encourage students to do. We also have a website called What Can I Do with This Major, where you can click on different majors and see what are those paths people often take, and it will provide recommendations for types of experience to be gaining. So it's very similar to this presentation today. And then WOICE is our Washington Occupation Information System. It's one where you can kind of work backwards. So you can look at what is a specific position you may be interested in. And then when you click that, it'll show what are those common majors people do, what type of training is needed, what are those skills and responsibilities, what does the workplace culture look like? So it provides a lot of detailed information, and it pulls data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is constantly being updated. So you can also see things like salary, the occupational outlook, which means how likely that position is going to be growing throughout the future. And finally, Vault is a really great resource on our page as well. It includes it just includes a lot of different guides around specific positions and also around just general fields. So you can start really at any of those points to get more clarity and ideas of what path you want to pursue. Finally, I want to put in a plug for Handshake and LinkedIn. Handshake is our UW job and internship board. So it's one where employers are using it to post experiential opportunities, not just jobs, but also internships. And you'll see a lot of local internship positions in there. And it's very similar to LinkedIn, except it's only for college students and alumni. So you'll find a lot more positions which are geared towards internships and geared towards entry-level positions on there. And there's usually going to be a smaller applicant pool too, because you're only going to be seeing positions where the employer has specifically stated, I want to hire a UW student. So both Handshake and LinkedIn are fantastic for pursuing different opportunities, for connecting with people in your field, doing that research to find out what path you want to take. You can look into other people's profiles. They're basically looking at their resumes to see what steps did they take, what did other alumni do who went to UW Bothell and were, you know, in my major. And you can find people and alumni especially to connect with, to be able to speak with and learn more about their experience.
So as you can probably tell, you're going to have a really strong success team of advisors throughout the institution, throughout the university, that can help you with everything from your academics to career prep, exploration, all of those things. And we are all here and excited to be a part of your journey and support you in any way that we can. Please do always take advantage of the resources that are here for you and ask us all the questions you can. And now I'm going to give us all a second to kind of go in and introduce ourselves a little more deeply. I can start. I'm Monique Taylor. As I mentioned, I am the advisor for the Media and Communication Studies and Interdisciplinary Arts majors. You can always reach out to me to ask questions about making plans, choosing courses, and just general preparation and guidance, navigation through those two majors. I can also talk to you and help connect you with other on-campus and community resources for things that you can do on campus, like student newspaper, audiovisual projects, research opportunities, just the full gamut. I'm always here and happy to be a support system for you. And with that, I think I'll pass it off to Wissam to go next.
Hello, like I said, my name is Wissam Berry. Thanks, Monique. I'm the advisor for the cultural literature and the arts major. And so something else that you can reach out and talk to me as an advisor for that specific major and in the School of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences is really helping you find some co-curricular opportunities to engage, some student leadership opportunities at UW-Bothell, really looking at what opportunities you have outside of your classroom experiences to really understand how you can tie your work back to those extracurricular activities. And so I like to help some students in navigating what their interests are outside of class and really kind of merge them with what they're doing inside their coursework. A little bit about Kristen Lebrecht isn't in this session, but she is one of the academic advisors in the School of Educational Studies. Like I said, a lot of cultural literature and arts majors are interested in being some secondary arts secondary teachers in English and language arts, and she is works really closely, her and the other advisors in educational studies, to really help students understand what they need to do in order to get the endorsement to be a secondary education teacher in English and language arts, and then how do you become certified to teach in the state of Washington. And so in collaboration with me as the CLA advisor, the advisors in educational studies help kind of bridge the, here's the classes that count, how do I get my certification, how do I become an English teacher for, if that's the path I want to take as a career. And so that's who's pictured there and is available for folks as well. I'll pass it on to Annie next.
Great, thanks, Wissam. Hi again, folks. So again, my name's Annie, and I am the academic advisor for the Interactive Media Design program. We also call it IMD. And a couple of things I wanted to highlight is, so, IMD, as we talked about a little bit earlier, is this cohort-based program, right? So that means that if you were to be in this major, you would be going through a core set of classes with your cohort, and that offers a really rich and unique experience. And sometimes students ask, what should we talk about during an academic advising appointment if I have a preset list of classes that I know that I'm going to sign up for, right? So I thought, in case anyone was wondering that, I thought I'd answer that question for you. So working with IMD students is always very dynamic and very fun because we have a lot of space to really dig into and talk about the extracurricular components of their journey at UW-Bothell. So whether that's really digging into figuring out an internship experience, talking about your capstone project that you would do your senior year. IMD seniors spend pretty much their whole year working on this really rad project. And if any of you are interested this spring coming to and watching that capstone event, I would recommend that to kind of get an idea of the really cool projects. I know this year we have students working on projects related to, increasing equity and accessibility in technology. We have students working on projects who are being mentored by professionals working in the field right now, right? Folks who are working in web development, media design, all of these different areas that you might pursue if you were to come and be an IMD. And so there's lots of room for these really great conversations to be happening and for that journeying to be happening where you really get to dig into, how can I decipher and decide for myself what I'm going to kind of bring to this IMD program? Because I think what we've learned about with all of these programs is that, there's always this level of flexibility in this room for you to really bring yourself in and for you to really celebrate the things that are exciting for you in this specific program. So those are things that we can talk about together along with the faculty and your peers. those are all really exciting conversations. And let's see, I will pass it to Norm.
Wonderful. Thank you, Annie. And so again, my name's Norm. I'm a pre-major advisor for the Arts and Media meta major. And so certainly I'm available to work with, and really how the system is set up and navigate is that I will be the advisor that you'll see for appointments. Because that's the way the system is set up in terms of, assigned caseloads, those types of things based on meta major. So I'm happy to work with you to talk about these different majors and programs, help you learn about the prerequisites. I also encourage you to take some ownership for this as well in terms of, I am not the sole person that has this information. This information is on the websites for the different programs. So if you haven't done so already, take a look at the different majors. For arts and media, if there are other programs you're interested in, please take a look at those major websites as well, because they're going to have a lot of information about what students need to do. I can help clarify because there's always questions about different programs, what it means to do these things, about the prerequisites, and I'm here to help out. I've been at the University of Washington Bothell for over 6 years, and so I've done a lot of advising with pre-major students, and so that's why we're here to help support students. We love what we do. And we want you to be able to explore and also dig deep into these things as well. And so we know that folks come in with different levels of skill when it comes to different pathways, different levels of perhaps knowing of, this is definitely my pathway, or this is something I'm thinking about. And so we encourage you to, if you don't have much experience in terms of, or know much about what you're hoping to pursue, to dig deep into that, try to lean into it, to learn more about what those different things might mean. Because, for some people, it might be a matter of, yeah, I'm pursuing my particular major because, people in my life had told me I would be good at this. And yet I myself may not have explored that. And so we want you to explore. We want you to try to figure it out because, getting in, 1 or 2 years into the major and discovering, oh yeah, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be, doesn't serve you well. Okay. You'll still work out. It always does work out because it's part of the journey, but we want you to be able to have those experiences, do that exploring sooner rather than later. It's not a requirement, but it really helps out with the process. So we feel more confident in terms of what we're going to be doing in the future. And so certainly, work with me. I will help with some of that in terms of helping with the discernment, helping with the different resources. Also, the other piece too is in talking about the application process for some of these programs, right? So prerequisites are one thing. Some programs are capacity constrained, okay? Meaning that there are a lot more students wanting to get into a program than there are spaces available. And so, we like to talk about parallel paths in terms of the work I do. It's like, what else would one person like to be pursuing if perhaps that number one choice did not become the reality? Okay, and there's lots of different ways to get to your career goals. It's not necessarily through a particular major. Okay, so it's a matter of how do we develop those skill sets, how do we develop those experiences to help us get to where we want to go. It may not be the exact same path that we've desired or planned in our head to occur, yet that's okay, because again, it's a journey. Getting to the destination and enjoying that journey and learning through that process is very important. And so I'll turn it over to Dakota to talk more about career services.
Yeah, Norm, you said that so well. Like, I was like, oh, you should come work with career services more. I can't emphasize that enough, that exploring career paths, exploring different opportunities within your major or to different majors and minors is really helpful. I switched my major my senior year, and I'm really glad I did because it put me on a different path. And also I'm really thankful for the years that I was in different majors before switching, because the skills that I learned in those degrees were invaluable to the work that I have done since then and still continue to do today. So, in addition to the services I've shared already that Career Services offers, I do want to share that in our team, we have 2 career coaches. So my colleague, Will Radcliffe, and I both meet with students regardless of major. And so you can always make appointments with either one of us according to your schedule, or you can choose which one of us you particularly want to work with. If you've been working with one of us repeatedly, and that's totally fine. Please, use our services, but I will go ahead and hand this back to, let's see, who's on? Yeah.
Awesome. So this next kind of slide really is just some of the questions we want you to think about as we kind of end this conversation that we're having today about the major, the meta major pathways of arts and media. And so we're going to use the last of the time that we have for anyone to ask questions of the advisors, really look at what questions you might have available. These are things that we can answer as advisors and members of the Success team if you're interested in that. But we want to just open up what options you have for questions, opportunities, classes that we can recommend, spring quarter, or again, to answer any of these questions. So please feel welcome to unmute yourself, ask the question, direct it to any of us or a specific of us, and we'll be happy to kind of take on those from you at this point.
I have a question, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
I applied to be, I think I applied on the 15th of January, and I thought I wanted to, I don't know, but like, I want to get into media and communications major. And like, I'm not sure if I did the application right or anything like that, but I got help from another person to like do it right. So I'm pretty sure I did okay. But like, I'm just wondering, like, how long does it take to get the feedback back, you know?
Yeah,
Or does it like take a month?
So for the interdisciplinary arts and sciences, any of our majors, we have kind of one internal application that pre-major students are completing. And then once that application is completed, they're reviewed by a committee of folks from lots of different parts of the university. And they're really looking at, are the requirements completed for the gen ed requirements that kind of fit into it? If the major has any prerequisites, have you completed those prerequisites? And then kind of really reading through your materials to just determine whether or not this is the right fit for you in terms of joining into that major. And so usually takes about a month-ish, month and a half. You should know before you start registering for classes soon. So hopefully in the next like 3 to 4 weeks, you will know. And then Norm is definitely the right person for a pre-major student to meet with to talk about if the application isn't successful, what options do you have next, what requirements do you have to complete. So just hang tight. We could also answer questions via email directed individually towards the student. So you could always email the IAS advisors and Monique can be happy to answer in terms of MCS. And it's just the IAS ADV email address that will be posted on the website and on the chat later in the presentation.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other questions that we have from the group, would any of the Success team want to answer some of the questions that are posted on here? Please feel welcome to do that as well.
I'm wondering, Josephine, if you have any wonderful wisdom to share as a student in it right now to any of these questions or just anything else.
I think like just something important when you're exploring this kind of thing is to be open to like a lot of different possibilities. Not just because like your career in the future could like change or whatever, but I think it's just like a lot of people say that when you're in university, it gives you a lot of opportunity to like round out your skill set or like to explore new options. Because I'm also like an IA major, not just like an IAS major, and I didn't really and not just an IMD major, and I didn't really consider that as like a possibility until I was almost at my junior year, and then I just did some talking and a lot of exploring on my own. So you can, and there was a lot of things in IMD that weren't in my skill set at all, but I was able to talk to a lot of advisors and then kind of get like a foundation, a lot of like more grounding for getting prepared to do something new. So it's kind of like that, like be open to learning new things because you might learn a lot of new things about yourself too.
I echo all of that.
I have another question actually, guys. So like, what about if you don't get admitted into the major you want, and if it's possible you applied again to the same major and the same thing happens, then what's next?
So I think if you first apply to a major and you're not admitted into that major, again, that's where Norm, as your pre-major advisor, really is going to help you kind of figure out kind of what's next. There's no issue with you reapplying to the major the next quarter. That's totally fine. If it could be, the committee can also give you feedback on what was not successful or what you should work on if it's something, or sometimes it's just, I never finished this prerequisite and didn't get in, or sometimes it is that the major is capacity constrained and you weren't able to be admitted at that time. And that could become an issue because they only admit once a year for some of those majors, like IMD, for example, only admitting once a year. But Norm, do you have any thoughts on what you share with students that you'd like to provide?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's a really good question, especially for our capacity constrained majors. And so for some majors, it might be a matter of motivation for degree, and sometimes it's grades, right? For some of the capacity constrained majors, GPA is an important consideration. It may not be the end all be all in terms of decision making, and it's not. It's personal statement, it's fit, lots of other things. And so I usually engage in a conversation with students in terms of, okay, well, what are some things that you liked about this program? What are some other things that you've thought about? What are some parallel pathways that will still work? And this is where career services can really help as well. I have some students that actually realize that, oh my gosh, it's like I didn't get into the major because, well, upon reflection, it's like I really maybe didn't want to be in the major, or maybe they're doing it for reasons other than their own. And so that's the motivation piece, the skill sets where, and oftentimes, and this is maybe a societal thing where we grow up and people always talk about, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? What do you want to be? What do you want to be? It's always a label, right? Am I going to be a doctor? Am I going to be a firefighter? Am I going to be a nurse? Am I going to be the president, right? And so, one thing that that I try to help with is like, okay, how do we do that shift, right? Instead of talking about titles, let's talk about skills. What are things that we want to do? What are things that we enjoy doing? What are we curious about? What are the problems in the world that we want to try to help contribute to solving? Not to say we have to solve it by ourselves, but it's like, hey, if I'm really thinking that climate change is an important issue for our planet, what can I do in terms of my small part to help assist with that, right? Or if I feel like there's something going on in my neighborhood that I want to be contributing to help solve that problem. It's like, how do I do that? And so, it's a journey. Again, I always go back to that journey piece. And some majors, it's a matter of maybe it is a GPA issue because maybe I wasn't really knew what I wanted to do, so I wasn't motivated. My GPA impacted me when I first started my couple quarters, or maybe life is complex. It's sticky. It's not always neat and clean. And just because we're in school doesn't mean our everything else falls away in our lives. And so if there have been some struggles in our personal lives that impact our academics, then how do we talk about those things in our personal statement? How do we what I like to call flip the script? It's like, yeah, sometimes things don't go our way and things we don't get the results we hope for, but then what do we learn from those experiences? And how can we use those as leverage to say, okay, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm a human, and I'm still developing. And that's part of the other piece of it is like our growth. And in terms of what we end up doing in terms of our degree pathway, it doesn't dictate what we'll be doing for the rest of our lives. And so how do we have those conversations, say, okay, well, maybe we had a bad quarter, maybe we this application process didn't work the way I hoped to. What are the opportunities for moving forward, either in that same pathway or shifting gears a little bit, but still getting to hopefully where we want to be. Because there's so many unknowns and so many variables, we can't control all of them. And I'm the type of person that likes to have a plan in place, and I like to know what the end result's going to be. And I like some guarantees, right? And I'm an advisor, right? And so, but we don't have those guarantees in life, right? And so we do the best we can, and then we have to adapt and move forward in a way that works best for us. Okay, so that's sort of the conversation. No clean answers, no magic wand, right? I wish I had one, but I don't. And so it's like, how do we just have those conversations to be able to allow us to feel comfortable or okay with the direction that we're moving in? And so I don't know, Dakota, if you have any comments that you'd like to put in there. Sorry to put you on the spot. You don't have to.
No, I think that's perfect. I completely agree with everything you've said. I see also we have another question in the chat, which asks, this year as a sophomore, I want to take 300 IMD classes, but classes were full. If there's a is there a priority date for this class, or do you need to have some prereqs before taking these classes?
Yeah, I can answer that question. That's a really great question. So the reason that's happening is because, as we've talked about, IMD is a cohort program. And so once you get into those 300 level classes, those are going to be specific to folks who are in the major, going through a really specific program of study with their cohort. And so the opportunity to take those classes if you're not in the major, is a little bit tough, because they really are held for students who are in the major. Because if you were, let's say you were in the major and it filled up and then you weren't able to be in, missing one course in that sequence would disrupt the entire 2-year sequence, right? So that's why it's pretty strongly held for students who have been admitted to the program. So that is kind of that reality. There are 200 level IMD courses that are being offered spring quarter. That would be, if you haven't taken already, really fun, I think, to take if you're interested in IMD. And I would also be more than happy to, chat after this, maybe more one-on-one about kind of parallel courses that might give you similar skill sets or things to be thinking about as these IMD courses. I think my email is maybe somewhere. Is my email somewhere? I can put it in the chat if not. But just if you wanted to connect about that, yeah.
I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I keep asking too much questions,
No,
but
fine.
I think for IS majors, it's okay if you got like an S on it. Would they look at somebody who has like a, I don't know, 3.8 on their classes and compared to someone who has S? Do they think that the person who has a numeric grade is better than the person with the S grade, or is it doesn't matter to them because for graduation, or like getting into the major, like whatever, both?
I don't know if you wanted to answer that one, Monique.
If I wanted to answer that one? I can, sure. So specifically, no. S and NS classes are still seen as credits for the major and still are accepted. I think numeric grades are fine, as well as SNS. I think it really depends on really how you're looking at over your GPA, because that's going to matter as well in the admissions process. And also thinking about just what you need for success. I think particularly during this time, these extraordinary circumstances, especially, we are all especially flexible and considerate of SNS and non-numeric graded classes. So, I would really say just think about like what's the best fit for you and go ahead and take those courses. As long as you get the credit that are needed for your admissions and for your prerequisites, there is really no problem at all with choosing a grading option that better fits you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So like, what about if it's okay if I apply to 2 majors at the same time, just in case I don't get into the other one?
And when it comes to the School of Interdisciplinary Arts and Sciences, you can only have, the first one you apply to is the one that you would be admitted to if accepted. And the reason for that is that you can switch when you're already in the school throughout the majors. So we recommend you only apply to one
Okay.
major, and then you can kind of work with your academic advisor to switch or to do a double major if that's of interest. The same thing kind of goes if you're interested in doing another major. Your academic advisor can work with you. So like if you were accepted to IMD as a major and you wanted to add another major, let's say like Josephine talked about being an IA major as well, that is something you would work on with your academic advisors. But in the case of IMD, it has a little bit more of that capacity constraint restrictions. And so it's not as easy as just saying, oh, I want to do that major as well. You would have to be accepted to that as well, separately from the IA major in that case. So it all depends on which the second major that you're interested in, where it falls under at the UW-Bothell, and then the school's policies as well. So definitely reach out to your pre-major advisor if you have questions on that.
Okay, so does that mean if you do get admitted into the IAS major and you want to change, do you have to go through the same process again?
You wouldn't have to do a reapplication. You would work with your academic advisor to switch it up. The major in IAS has prerequisites. You just have to make sure you complete those before they're able to approve that switch into the major. But once you're admitted to the School of IAS for any of the majors, you're admitted for any of the majors. The only exception with that would be the 2 majors that are shared with the School of STEM, which is IMD and Earth System Science.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So for folks, there is on the screen, I made it go away. There's on the screen the link to a tiny URL, and the QR code also takes you there. We talked about a raffle at the beginning of the event. In order to get to that raffle, you have to fill out this survey. And so please feel free to snap a picture of that. The link has been also posted in the chat, as well as we're asking everyone to complete it. If you have any specific questions that you have that weren't answered today, or you want someone to reach out to you, the survey indicates that at the end. You know, I was in the arts and media presentation, and I have more questions for this major or this pre-major experience, or to the career coaches. So you'll be able to add it to that at the end of the survey. So make sure that you complete it fully. You do have to log in with your UW Net ID, so that's how we kind of keep track of who's going to win the raffle, and we'll reach out to you via your UW email if you're into that. And then this website link, the uw.edu/degree/meta-major-pathways, that's the website that's for the Pathways event. That's really talking about the arts and media pathway as a whole, along with all the other pathways. Since this was the first presentation, you're also able to go to any of the other presentations we have later this week. You might see some familiar faces as we kind of go through some of the other major presentations as well. But please feel free to join any of those, research some of that on your own. Norm had talked about taking it into your own hands, the ability to learn on your own. That website's really going to direct you to all the majors that fall under it, some of those career resources as well. With that, any last thoughts from the success team, or any last questions before we kind of wrap up, now that we're at a little bit over a time in that case?
So I just want to say thank you for all of you that are here today. We really do appreciate your participation and involvement and interest. If there are any questions, just know that you are not on a solo journey. There are lots of people here to support you. And so please reach out to us. We're happy to help as best we can. If we can answer the question directly, we will. If not, then we'll refer you to the office and person that could best support you if that question does not fall into our specific realm of work. All right, so thank you so much.
Thank you all.